Suicide is a major public health challenge with more than 700,000 deaths each year globally. If you know someone that's thinking of suicide or you're worried about someone you may know, call or text 988. It's toll free anytime for support. Our next speaker is Sajel Bellon. She is a human behavior professor and psychotherapist, founder of Mind Armor and SOS Psychotherapy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you here. Today is Suicide Prevention Day, and it means the world to us that you took a few minutes to share your expertise and help create awareness in our community. Uh, just to begin with, Sejal, could you please share briefly about yourself? What makes you an authority figure to speak on this topic?
This has been a topic that's been so close to my heart since I've been a child because I have not been immune from experiencing suicidal thoughts or navigating tough situations, whether it's somebody else. Even as a young person, as a professional, as a parent, as a community member, I can't tell you the amount of times that suicide has been part of the experience or conversation in my life. And I
Mhm.
feel that that's the story of many, many people out there and often are not sure still on how to navigate. And especially for the people that are maybe experiencing it for the first time, it can be really scary or challenging.
Yeah.
And I really hope that one of the things that I can do with my experience that I'm bringing, both personal and professional, is to make it a little bit more comfortable so that we as a society can start to use the signs and and recognize the signs and signals earlier so that we can actually be of support and destigmatize the social conditioning that suicide and suicidal topics have had in our society. Because I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Today's topic of discussion is stigma to connection. And I know that you've mentioned this many times, humanizing suicidal thoughts.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
It's, in fact, that's the title of my book, subtitle of my book, Tell Me More. And we're doing exactly that, explaining to people how humanizing suicidal thoughts, which means that understanding it from a different lens, taking away the stigma and the shame that forces silence and struggle in our society, in our homes, in our communities, by bringing back the idea that suicidal thoughts are actually natural and that many of us, if not a lot of us or all of us, have them at some point in time, even though we may not recognize it as
Mhm.
that path or in that direction. Some of us will sit in denial because we don't want that shame and because we don't want to be labeled as having those things. And some of us won't even express when we are. So humanizing suicidal thoughts is basically, like I said, bringing it back to our natural human instincts, understanding what the role, purpose, and function of suicidal thoughts actually are in our human experience, which is actually our signals to connect. They are our internal alarm system that whatever we're going through in life right now, or whatever is happening, is maybe too much or overwhelming, and we need connection, we need comfort, we need different perspectives because we can't see another way out ourselves. So, suicidal thoughts are that alarm system that our pain level or threshold is reached its max, and
Yeah.
we need to connect. But we have been teaching our children and ourselves, even as adults, that to do the exact opposite with suicidal thoughts, which is shh, don't tell anybody, you know, hide them or work through them and be high functioning. And I specialize in working with first responders because they're a group, and we have many groups and many occupations where we have high functioning people under high pressure. They
Hmm.
cannot be seen to be struggling. And so, very often, whether it's personal or professional, when those pressures exceed the threshold, sometimes it can feel like emotional pain is now turning into physical pain, which then triggers these darker thoughts of stop the pain. Why do you think Tylenol and Advil are so popular? Because we are wired as humans to avoid pain at all costs. So
Yeah.
imagine when that emotional pain becomes physical. And we all know when it does. You can feel it in your stomach, you can feel it in your chest, we can feel it in our throats. Like pain is there when it becomes really high emotionally. And that's what starts to trigger the same pain receptors in our brain, which is stop the pain at all costs. What do you have to do? And we're smart. Our brains are very smart. They know, well, this isn't physical pain, it's
Mhm.
emotional. And I don't know how we're going to get out of this. So we need to end it. And hence the response of a suicidal thought, perhaps. Like, I can't take this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore.
Mhm.
Um, how long do I have to go through this? You know?
Yeah, and I've noticed, Sejal, that these behavioral patterns
Hmm.
or these feelings, these emotions that people experience, that
Hmm.
pain that they're feeling, the emotional pain, even when people are aware of it, oftentimes people do not feel inspired or feel willing to go seek for professional help or any other supports. Why do you think that is?
Because we've socially conditioned them to do that, to shy away, to feel the shame, to hide. Don't tell anybody you're struggling because then you're perceived as weak. Where it's our natural instinct is actually the opposite. Think about when a baby cries. What do we want to do when a baby cries? We want to comfort that baby. That
Yeah.
baby wants to be comforted. That's why it's crying out for help. But yet, as that very same baby gets older, we now tell the baby, stop crying. I don't want to hear you anymore. Or we tell the child, no, go away, or don't be too loud, don't cry out in public. Or, whether it's gender related, we can tell boys don't cry, and girls shouldn't get angry, and whatever societal conditioning little messages that we're sending, whether it's through our media, through our parenting, through our schools, through our colleagues, through our peers, that's what's shaping how we think and receive these kinds of messages. So, suicide prevention is a huge project. That's
Mhm.
why we need as many people on this to change the messaging behind it. That is our biggest opportunity to change the numbers and the big numbers that we are losing every day unnecessarily. Because remember, it's not just with the loss of the person, it's all the grief that's left behind. Like people are never the same. And you know that personally. And I know what it is that families go through. I know what it is to be a family member that's lost somebody as well. I know what it is to almost have lost people, and been there in that nick of time sort of situation. So this is really important. And this is why we need all teachers, all students, all churches, and any religion that you are, all organizations and leaders. Please allow us to bring these discussions to the table because when we can educate more people around what suicidal thoughts are really about and what their function is, and then empower people with how to deal with them, whether you're the person going through it, whether you're the person who's perhaps listening to somebody who's going through it. We're going to give you the tools on how to handle and navigate those situations. That's what this book is all about. And
Mhm.
when we can do that, when we can spread that knowledge so that people are more confident and comfortable having these conversations, and again, it becomes so natural, that's when we're going to see these numbers drop. That's when people are not going to feel so desperate and alone. And I think that's key.
That was really well said, Sejal.
Thank you. And I couldn't repeat myself exactly the same again.
I can feel your passion in this
Thank you.
as you speak. But there are two things that stand out to me. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about that high performer that's out there,
Hmm.
that feels that they have to be a certain way, that they cannot, take that day off, the mental day, take a mental day because how it may look, how it may appear, or people may perceive them that they don't have what it takes. You know, what are some signs? The first part is, what are some signs, some behavioral patterns that we as a community can be aware of to notice in these high performing individuals or our happy friends and family? What are those behavioral patterns that we can notice that give us a clue that something is not right, that intervention is required?
Right. So I kind of have a two-prong response to that. One is for the people around that person is looking for signs of fatigue, loss of passion or energy, or even too much energy, that overcompensation part of it. Uh,
Mhm.
Trust your gut. I think you know your people. And when you feel like something's off, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to open that door for the person to be able to say, I need a breather, or yeah, wow, this is a lot.
Mhm.
And don't be afraid to poke a little, for
Yeah.
the people that might be wanting to hide it. Make it safe for them. They're not losing status, they're not losing appearance or strength in any way. What they're actually doing, and this is the other side of that answer, is to the actual person, is I work with some of the highest performing people, and we have come to a place where by sharing on a regular basis, by keeping that pressure cooker in check, there and blowing off steam every now and then, whether it's ventilation, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, like the self-care aspects, we are actually mitigating, we are reducing times of crisis. All of a sudden, even when crisis hits, they're able to hit that so much better and deal with it and rebound even faster. So when we can incorporate, again, taking the stigma out of taking care of yourself and building in strengthening and self-care into a daily life, into a daily narrative, all of a sudden we're changing the whole game. Crisis doesn't feel insurmountable anymore. It doesn't feel like you can't handle it because you know what? Now you've got the tools and the energy to do it. And so it's amazing the people that I have on my maintenance program, let's say through SOS psychotherapy in my clinic, you know,
Mhm.
a lot of these people came saying, I don't know why I need therapy, or I don't really need it, but somebody said I should come. And, they're the biggest champions now for it. And we've been working on, we're going on 1, 2, 3, 4, some are 5 years, but we're not going on like intensive care because that's not what they need right now. It's just simply maintenance. And through that maintenance and through the education and through the development, personal development that we do at the clinic, they're managing life so much better no matter what is hitting them now. And I have testimonial after testimonial saying that. Like they don't want to leave. Like that's the fun part. They never thought they needed therapy. And you know what? Sessions aren't just about therapy. They're about education. They're about support. It's just so much more. And so finding the right person is key as well. So, and you want to do that when you're in a good state, not in a crisis state. That's another thing that I share with people. So look for somebody when you are in a good place, because then you can ask the right questions and make sure they're the right fit for you for when times are not great.
That was excellent. Sejal, I feel like we can talk about this for hours.
Absolutely.
There's there's a lot more that we could cover here, but given that, the time's coming to an end, we definitely will have to bring you back to one of our other events to keep this conversation going, and share more tools and resources. Having said that, would you like to share more about your upcoming book And where can people find you?
Absolutely. I have a QR code up here.
Yeah.
There. So scan that, and that gives you absolute free access to my weekly articles that come out. And we cover a world of information and offer different perspectives on things. So please, for free resources to keep up to date with what books are coming out, articles are coming out, and other resources, please scan the QR code. And we would love to have you join the community and have access to everything and keep up to date with the launch of events and books that are coming out. We have a series of 3 books coming out in the Tell Me More, which again is about humanizing suicidal thoughts. We have our adult version, we have our youth version coming out, and a youth companion guide. So this is meant again to have that multi generational effect because we want to change the language for all of us at the same time. And so the books are coming out like that. And then we will follow up with a first responder special book as well, edition, and so forth. And we're just building the collection that way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sejal, for all that you continue to do to better mental health for everyone. We really appreciate your time, your advice, your knowledge, your expertise. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And sorry, I forgot to mention if anybody needs more information, sagelbellon.com or paintopossibilities.com, and you'll find me. Thank you.